It's time to relax, grab a drink, pull up a chair by the hearth, and have a seat in the Skald Circle to listen to the tale of The Three Gifts from French Folklore as told by Casimir. Before we begin our story, we wanted to remind you that we release new tales for free every week. Our shorter tales release on Wednesdays, and our longer chapter stories release on every other Saturday. Find out where you can hear them on our website at thescaldcircle.com. And be certain to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. That way, you'll never miss out on one of our enchanting tales from around the world. And this is the tale of The Three Gifts. Once upon a time, there lived a little boy whose mother had died and whose father had remarried. But his stepmother didn't like him, so she fed him old moldy crusts of bread. Whenever he went out into the fields, he always put them in the spring to soften them. One day he was sitting by the water when a poor man passed by and called out to him, "What are you doing there?" "I am soaking the moldy crusts of bread that my stepmother gave me to eat." "Give me one." The boy gave the beggar some crusts of bread, who ate them and then said, "You have done a good deed, and as a return, I will grant you 3 wishes. What would you like?" The boy scratched his head, then finally said, "First of all, I want my stepmother to soil her underwear any time I look at her." The beggar didn't reply, so the boy continued, "I would also like a small pistol for shooting birds, that anyone who sees me shooting must run after the bullet." The beggar pulled out a small pistol from his pocket and handed it to the boy, saying, "What is your 3rd wish?" "I would like a clarinet, such that all those who watch or listen to my playing shall be compelled to dance." The beggar gave him a clarinet and disappeared. The boy went home, and his stepmother was just tethering the cow in the stable when he entered. As soon as he looked at her, she soiled her underclothes, and this happened every time he looked at her. The next day she was invited to a wedding. She warned her husband to lock the boy up in a shed near the house, for she was afraid that her illness might return. Around noon, however, the father released the boy, and told him to check on his stepmother. She was seated between 2 gentlemen at the wedding table. The boy went to the window and looked at his stepmother, who immediately soiled herself so much that everyone had to hold their noses. Finally, they made her leave. The boy hurried back to the shed, so that when his stepmother came home and checked, she found him inside. "Surely there must be some magic behind this," she cried. The next day she went to confession and told the priest everything. The priest comforted her by saying, "I will come to you and force the boy to tell me about the magic he uses." He went to the field where the spring was and noticed the boy soaking his crusts of bread. "What are you doing there?" asked the priest. "I am soaking the moldy bread crust that my stepmother gives me to eat." "You are suspected of practicing magic." "Oh, who says that?" "If you will tell me the truth, I will give you a nice picture next Sunday." "I don't need a picture, but if you strip naked, you'll learn everything." The priest took off his cassock and trousers, but kept his underpants and undershirt on. However, the boy insisted, so he did so, and since no one else was around, the priest stripped off the rest of his clothes. The boy then shot the pistol into a thorny thicket. Immediately the priest ran after the bullet. When he was in the middle of the thicket, the boy began to play the clarinet, so that the priest, despite the thorns, had to dance. The priest shouted, "You are a magician! You are a magician!" But he had to keep dancing. Finally, the boy stopped blowing on the clarinet, and the priest, all scratched and bleeding, was able to get dressed and go on his way. He told the court how the boy had tricked him, saying he should be hanged. The bailiffs brought the boy before the judges, and he was sentenced to death. Before the execution, one of the judges asked him if he had a last wish. "Yes," replied the boy. "I should like to take a walk along the pond, fire a pistol, and play my clarinet one more time." They granted him this request. The priest called, "He is a magician! Tie me up!" The people thought that he was a fool. Everyone present at the court session went to the pond with the boy. As soon as he got there, led by the 2 guards, he fired his pistol, and they all followed the bullet into the water. He immediately picked up his clarinet and began to play, so that everyone in the water began to dance and then finally drowned. The boy returned home and lived happily ever after. And that is the tale of the 3 gifts from French Folklore. Thank you for listening to our story. If you enjoyed it, we recommend taking a look at our Patreon page, as noted in the description below. You can earn great rewards while also supporting us. To keep these stories alive for generations to come. Also, remember to subscribe to us on your podcast app and leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed this story. A special thank you to Kat for their support this month. Without your contribution, we wouldn't be able to continue these stories, and we truly appreciate it. Visit theskaldscircle.com to stay up to date with all of our current events, news, and much more. Not only that, but you can also visit our story archive of every tale we have ever told. It's sorted by origin and region for the convenience of your listening pleasure. Thank you for listening to our story.